Welcome to the Desire Over Doubt Show, coming to you from Savannah, Georgia, with your hosts, elite and international elite lifters, Nate Korpusic and Savage Cat.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Desire Over Doubt Show. I am Nate, and with me as always,
Savage Cat. That's me.
What are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about Masters Powerlifting. So for those of y'all who don't know what that is an age division within powerlifting. Not all federations have it. Some federations have subcategories within Masters, but we'll get into all that in a little bit. We're going to talk about how powerlifting and resistance training can help you be healthier as you age, and then we're going to talk a little bit about weight classes and choosing the right weight class for you.
And there's been a lot of changes with those going on the last couple of years, a lot of different weight classes being added to things, and USAPL just changed all their weight classes to revert back to like an older style. So we'll get into all that in just a little bit. First up, Masters divisions. I wanted to talk about this today because in the past, the Masters divisions, they were kind of looked at like it's the old guys, the old girls getting up there.
Well, like they're not as competitive because it's not the open.
And that's really just not true.
It's not true.
So what you're seeing is a lot of the people that were competing in those opens that were really, really good powerlifters are now masters. And so there's like a crop of these masters that's coming up and has been coming up for the last few years that are significantly stronger than in the past, I believe. And I think, it's one thing to kind of like just write off the masters, but since I'm a master now, I had to look at it differently and be like, well, look at who I'm competing against. And I mean, the numbers they're no joke. Like, you look at people in the first masters category, and if you're not benching in the 600s, you're not breaking records.
So true.
And if you're not deadlifting or squatting in the 7s or more, you're not competitive and on the higher level.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of the times too, like you're talking about, these people who are now masters lifters have been powerlifting through their younger years. There are, of course, people who get into powerlifting once they've already reached the masters division. I mean, a lot of those guys are still really strong too.
They are old man strength.
Guys and gals. Y'all.
We're saying guys is like a...
Not just men. We say guys as a generality.
Yep.
But we're including everyone.
So to break it down, I'm going to break it down USPA style first. So United States Powerlifting Association, not the United States Polo Association, and not the United States Parachute Association. I am the proud holder of a membership card for the United States Parachute Association. One night when I was trying to sign up for USPA years ago,
you had a few beers.
I had a couple of beers, one beer, 2 beers, maybe.
He gets all the way through the sign-up.
I made it. I now have a
made
member.
the
I'm
payment.
a member. I'm a member. I've never jumped out of a plane in my life, but I'm a member, so I can definitely see how that's going to be useless.
You opened up your email to view your membership card and realized it was the parachute.
The parachute emblem should have given it away.
Yeah.
But it whatever. It could have been the Polo Association.
Yeah.
Maybe I need one of those too. I digress. So, United States Powerlifting Association, the the Masters divisions are broken down into same with any league pretty much. You have your like 40 to 49, 50 to 59, 60 to 69, so on and so forth. But within those, it gets broken down even further. So you have like Masters 1A, which would be 40 to 44, and then 45 to 49 would be Masters 1B, and then 2A, 50 to 54, and so on.
Is that how USPA breaks it down?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought they were submaster.
Well, that's where I'm going to get into next.
Okay.
So they have what's called a submaster division, 35 to 39. So that's actually a pretty cool division. Because I've been lifting in that for the last few years, and it's like, I don't know, it's interesting because in the past, 35 to 39 is always open, and in most leagues, that's open still. But it was an interesting feel because it was a chance to kind of like almost prepare yourself for Masters, because you're competing against the same guys. You're going to compete against them again when you get into Masters division, but it kind of like it kind of like changed my mindset for the whole Masters thing by having that Submaster division. It kind of got me like amped up and excited to become a Masters lifter, which I wasn't before. You know me, I always bitch about my age, but I mean, I thought it got me prepped. It got me ready. It got me excited about joining Masters. Now that I'm 40, I'll be 41 in 2 months. I'm excited to be lifting in the Masters division because of the fact that it is so much more competitive than I think people think it is.
It is, but with that said, just to clarify for people, if you are lifting in a Masters division, you can still lift in the open as well. So you don't have to just be like, oh, well, I'm 35. I guess I have to be a Submaster now. You could register only for a Submaster division at a competition. You could register only for the open division at a competition. Yep. Or you could register for both. Yes, you can.
Yeah, it depends. Well, there are some leagues where you have to, if you're like a junior, you have to register as a junior. If you're a master, you have to register as a master. But you can also register in the open.
Yeah.
But that's league dependent.
Those things are indicated like when you actually buy a membership for the league.
Right. So, again, just to stick with USPA for a second, there is a distinction that needs to be made because they break down their qualification standards into, 5 levels and then master, elite, and international elite?
Yeah.
Is that right? So there's class like 5 through 1 or 4 through 1. I don't remember exactly what it is.
I don't remember how many classes there are.
And usually, so like to get on the national level, if you want to qualify for nationals, drug tested, you have to be a class 2 or better. Non-drug tested, you have to be a class 1 or better. And then to get to worlds, you need to be a master or better. That master does not mean masters as an age. That master means a master lifter,
total.
like your skill set, like you're that good. And it's a certain number that's assigned to that. Now you can be a master's master. So that gets a little confusing with there. That's the only league that does it that way that I'm aware of. USAPL is just like they don't have a submaster division. They're just they just go into masters at 40, masters 1A.
1A, 1B,
yep, exactly. 1A, 1B, and so on and so forth. When you go to competitions, though, you don't always see the 1A and 1B breakdown.
No, that's up to the individual meet director and how many lifters are in the meets and stuff like that. A lot of the times it's more cost effective and more efficient time-wise to do like Masters 1, Masters 2, Masters 3, what have you, rather than Masters 1A,
right,
1B, and then you have that whole 10-year span as well. So that's 3 divisions within one real division.
And then that's if you're not, then bench only and then push-pull and all that stuff added onto it.
Tons of divisions.
It becomes cumbersome. It's a lot. And it's just like, the awards are cool, but I know you're like me in that I'm not a big, everybody gets an award.
Oh, I absolutely hate winning an award if I'm the only person in that division. It's cool and everything like you just said, but I'm like, yeah, but I was the only one.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you're competing usually looking at different numbers. You're not, don't really care about that medal so much. You're looking at and did I qualify for something, or did I add to my total?
Yeah.
Or, something like that.
Yeah.
That's, because I'm like you, I love you guys, but the participation medals are just not my thing. No. I do think I'm proud of everybody who shows up for a meet, but
for
I'm not.
Sure.
They don't need to necessarily get a medal.
Well, that's not the point of competing.
It's not the point. It's called competition for a reason, and a lot of. Over the last few years, there's a lot of medals and a lot of divisions being given out, to the point at which I've seen meet directors just line up the whole group of lifters because you're going to be giving medals out to more of them than not.
Yeah. Yes. And it's just more efficient that way.
And that to me is a little, I don't know. It takes away from the people who did win really well.
Yeah, and also to the people who are standing up there who didn't win.
Yeah, now they're wow, fuck me.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, fuck me. I guess I'll just stand up here and let everybody look at me while
everybody else around me doesn't. Like Christian.
Yeah.
Poor Christian. We love Christian Harmon. We love you, man. He's actually competing in a few weeks.
Yep, February 19th at the South Carolina Tough Expo.
I'm excited for that. That's going to be a good meet. Anyways, back to Masters. So we've broken down the Masters divisions. We've broken down the Submaster and USPA. I guess the next thing to think about is the effect of powerlifting on the human body as you age. I think for me, I had a doctor tell me once. Now, I used to play soccer. Those of you that don't know me, I played soccer for 20-something years. I had a very different body shape then. I was not very as top-heavy as I am now. But I played it since I was a little kid, all the way up through high school and everything, so on and so forth. League ball, all that. And I started powerlifting probably, I don't know, a long time ago. And I had an appointment with my VA doctor. And he was like, you really shouldn't be doing this heavy lifting. If you want, you should go back to soccer. And I thought about that for about 10 seconds, and I was like, all the injuries I have are from soccer.
Why was he telling you this?
He was telling me that he was an old school doctor. He actually retired. And the old school belief is that cardio, run is great for you. And it is. It's not bad for you. It's good. But that strength training doesn't actually have any added benefit. We now know that to be false.
False. 100% false.
And why is it false?
Well, because the biggest thing really, to me, the two biggest things that not just powerlifting, but resistance training in general, building muscle increases your metabolism.
Yep.
So you are going to have a better time maintaining like a healthier body composition if you're doing resistance training because you're burning more calories at rest and while you're exercising. You're supporting your joints more by building up the muscle around them. And number two, bone density. You're not really building bone density by doing something like running. You're doing kind of a lot of damage to your joints. I'm not saying don't run. Trust me. I get it. I love running.
Yeah.
I ran for a long time. But comparatively, like if you're shying away from resistance training or powerlifting because you're worried about your joints, but you're like, oh, I would rather run. Yeah, no.
I mean, it increases bone mass density, like you said. And that's the biggest thing, because what happens when we hit our 30s, our bodies start losing that bone mass.
Yep.
And there's no way to replace it without overloading your system, so that it triggers your body to then make more. And it's really one of the only ways that you can do it, if not the only way. Obviously, diet and everything comes into that too, but we're talking about the whole picture.
Yes.
And why don't you want to be stronger as you age? That doesn't make sense to me.
I know. I mean, I just think about it like from a functionality perspective. Like, a lot of y'all know I have not been a power lifter for my entire fitness career. I've done a lot of different things, and I do believe very strongly in functional fitness and functional strength and doing things like building up the muscles around your joints so that you don't step off of a curb one day coming out of the grocery store and like break your ankle. Yeah. I mean, it happens.
It's true.
Or let's say you trip and fall and you don't know how to brace yourself against the ground, or you do brace yourself and you shatter an elbow, or
absolutely.
I mean this stuff happens, or you walk out of a building and it's snowy or it's been raining and you slip on some black ice, and
you know what? There's an added bonus to that too. There's an added boner to it.
An added bonus. Okay.
Sex appeal. Sex. You have more libido.
True.
When you do strength training and stuff as you get older, because what does building muscle do?
Makes you horny.
And it makes your body make more testosterone for men.
True.
So, guys, if you got this and you want this, get in the gym. Lift some heavy weights. Strength training can help.
Yeah.
It can. I mean, that's actually the truth. I mean, we joke about it, and it's EG
true.
Is not funny, but we can make a little bit of fun of it and make sure that we pass along the right information at the same time.
Yes.
But yes, it does help. It really does.
I also didn't mean to throw out a bunch of terrifying things that could happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, you just told
if you
everybody
don't have strong joints, I'm just saying.
I mean, you just basically told our audience they're going to die.
I'm just saying, though. I mean, and like, even if you are strong and you do have strong tendons, ligaments,
you can
things like that.
Yeah,
I mean, you can still get fucked up, but it just decreases the chances that you're going to get extra fucked up.
It's just,
right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I look at like my grandfather, he's passed on many years ago now, but, World War II generation. He was that old school strength, that just, like Navy man, you wouldn't know by looking at him, but that man he was going on until he died. He had a wood shop, he was splitting wood, building fires, building buildings, building all this shit.
Brute strength.
Just brute strength, just, that you don't you don't see or you don't feel like you have when you're younger. So I used to watch him and be like, what the fuck? Like, Jesus, that man just keeps going. And now that I'm in my 40s, I still don't know where it is. I'm still looking for it. But that's neither here nor there. So please, as you get older, don't stop strength training.
Yeah.
Stick with it.
And understand, too, that you're never too old to start.
Yes,
that's like something that I hear all the time, especially being a personal trainer and a coach. I don't just train powerlifters. I'm pretty well versed in a lot of different types of personal training and lifestyle fitness and things like that. And a lot of the times when I start with clients, they think that they're, they'll be 35 or 40 years old, and they think they're like too old to get into lifting weights or something. And I'm like, all it takes is a few months of them kind of looking around and maybe seeing other people and the way that you talk to them and meeting other people on your team and understanding like, oh, wow, I'm actually not too old to do this, You got
90-year-olds out there.
Yes.
Out there competing, and fucking all the power to them, man. That's awesome.
Absolutely
I
awesome.
think that is awesome. And, I actually look to my own parents who I see a big difference in, like, my parents that are now getting into their 70s compared to when my grandparents were getting into their 70s.
Your parents are so healthy.
They're so healthy and they're so fit. And one of the things they've done a lot of in their life is they've done a lot of strength training. I know because I wrote them their programs, but they were in the gym all the time when I was younger. I mean, that's how I got in the gym, I used to go and I'd like go play racquetball and they would go lift weights and stuff or take classes. And I just see now how much that pays off.
Yeah.
And they're still doing it. Because they don't look like they look a lot younger than they actually are, and that's a hardy New Englander, I guess, too. But I will say it makes it seem like, oh, that's living proof right there. Like, why I should probably do the same.
It is. I mean, my mom is gonna be 51. She's gonna be 51 this year, and she's the one who got me into exercise when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I've literally been training like forever.
That's not a Southern saying.
Knee-high to a grasshopper. Yeah. But yeah, I've been training forever, not in powerlifting, but I think my first experience with like any type of training or exercise was kickboxing when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And I just remember, like, even when I was a toddler, her doing step aerobics and, like, light resistance training and stuff like that. And now, at, 51 years old, she is a beast, y'all. Let me just tell you, she looks about 35, okay? People genuinely, honestly think she is my sister all the time. She's really healthy. She's been able to control like other health issues through exercise, and then even to see her now get into a little bit heavier resistance training, like she's never been one to really lift more than like 15-pound dumbbells are like, that's a good little bit for her.
Resistance training.
But when she comes and visits us and trains with us, you better believe I can put 135 or more on that hex bar and she will carry it. Like, she's strong, and she's better for it, not just physically but mentally too.
Like, definitely a big mental component.
When you realize like, oh my God, I'm 50 years old and I never thought I could do an overhead press with a 25-pound dumbbell, and here I am doing reps with it. Like, that is just so empowering.
It's really empowering. Really is. I think the evidence is there, and it's not just anecdotal. There's lots of studies and stuff that have been done. I'm not going to go through a lot of that stuff right now because that's not the point of this podcast. But do your own research. Don't just listen to your Facebook friends, but do actual legitimate research, and you'll find that it really does everything that we're saying as far as building bone mass. Adding to your life. Your heart is a fucking muscle, so you might as well work it.
True.
If you want to live longer, keep the ticker happy.
True.
And it'll help you in the boudoir.
Yes.
As well, and make your lady happy, or ladies,
or your man, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's nice to be a girl who can hold her own too. Just saying. But yeah, we've said all this like really great stuff about powerlifting and resistance training, but it's definitely dangerous. Like, it's
with any sport.
With any sport, it's good. It can help your joints and stuff a lot to build up the muscles around your knees and strengthen the tendons, ligaments, things like that. But putting a ton of load on your spine for years and years, like that's usually what most doctors are concerned about when they're telling you that lifting weights is dangerous. Like, but my point in saying this is you don't have to be a power lifter. You don't have to be doing like max effort squats and loading hundreds of pounds onto your spine every day.
Well, it's cool, but you don't have to.
It's cool, but you don't have to do it. You know what I mean? You can do light work with things like barbell squats, bench pressing, deadlifting, overhead pressing. It does not have to be maximal effort or even dangerous loads or things that are going to compress your spine.
That's right.
It can be very modest and still be beneficial, and you can still get stronger.
And you might find that once you do start doing, you might want to get into the heavier stuff too. I mean, a lot of people get bitten by the
love
bug.
the spinal compression.
I love it.
I love it.
I mean, I'm 2 inches shorter now than I was 10 years ago. I don't want to be tall. That's stupid. Nobody likes tall people. That's just dumb. Dwarfs. That's where it's at. I'll be a dwarf by the time I'm 80. So, all right. If you guys have any questions or anything about that, please feel free to shoot us a message on any of our platforms, especially in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. We'd be happy to answer any questions, or if we've gotten anything wrong or you guys want to hear more about a topic, please hit us up on any of our social media, or like I said, in the comments section below. We're going to switch gears right now and talk a little bit about weight classes.
Yes, weight classes. So, like you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, weight classes kind of differ from federation to federation, but it's like so minimal that it's just enough to be like really irritating.
It is. It is.
And difficult to remember. So,
yeah, I mean, not only us being silly Americans and not knowing kilos as well.
They're all in kilos.
Then you also have the distinct part of each federation that uses like 5 kilo differences in their weight classes, or one might have 1 or 2 more weight class divisions than another one. Or when you get into something like strongman, which has a totally different set of rules, like, you're close enough.
You're 5 pounds over.
Whatever. I mean,
obviously not at the pro level of strongman. I'm sure they're a lot more strict. But we've seen this stuff on the local level.
Yeah, definitely on the local level.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with weight classes, so I am a former USAPL lifter. I am now a USPA lifter, and I don't even pin myself there. I'll probably be in a bunch of different leagues before my time is through. So memorizing weight classes for all those is just, I'd rather just look it up. So it's just easier. I mean, I used to just know comfortably that I was in the super heavyweight. So that's no longer like that. Where I was is no longer an option in a lot of divisions. So I was 287 pounds, which was enough to be super heavyweight. Well, now they've made divisions like the 308 weight class, so I wouldn't even be super heavyweight in that. And now I'm even lighter than that in the 275 pound class, which is 125 kilos, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
Sure.
I think it is, whatever. Anyways, the point is, I think people try to pigeonhole themselves into a weight class.
Totally.
And that's impossible to do over the long term, especially if you plan on going to other leagues and other events. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're not even going to have the same weight class in other leagues, but you see this a lot, and I think you see it more with women than you do with men.
We're afraid to gain weight.
Yep. So you see especially a lot of the younger women, or people that haven't necessarily been in the sport that long, or people who have been in the sport a while, they don't necessarily realize, like, I'm getting stronger, but I'm getting bigger. And those correlate. It correlates. So they'll get stronger and then cut. And what happens when you cut all that? You're going to lose some of that strength.
I mean, especially if you don't do it, like, over time with patience or a sustainable plan that's going to allow you to eat more. Right. And you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of the times not done in a very smart or methodical way. It's just like, oh, well,
time to crash.
And then they suck on meet day because they're entirely depleted and haven't had time to replenish. You see it a lot in USAPL because they are a federation that does same-day weigh-ins. So you go, you weigh in, and then you're on the platform just a couple of hours later, and you don't have time to rehydrate, replenish, get some carbs in your system. There's just not really times like that, especially if you've done a significant water cut.
And I've actually had this debate with people from the different leagues, and their point about the 2-hour weigh-in is that it deters people from doing cuts.
False.
And I say to them, I say, no. If somebody's going to cut, they're going to cut.
They're going to cut.
They're going to do it regardless. It's hard. It's a mental game. It's a thing. People are going to do it.
I actually had never heard that about USAPL until you said that you talked to somebody who said that it was supposed to deter people. I'm like, I've never known anybody who's said, oh, I'm not going to cut in USAPL because it's a 2-hour weigh-in. People are like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do because...
So, and there you go. There you have it. So if you look at so if you take that out of the equation, you say you put USPA up against USAPL. USPA has the day before weigh-ins, and then USAPL has the same day weigh-ins. Okay, so if you accept the fact that people are going to cut regardless, then which one would be the safer one to be a part of?
USPA.
The one the day before.
Yeah.
Simply because you can then hydrate and put food in your system and energize for the next day.
And you can, usually the goal for somebody who's done, a water load, water cut, whatever you're doing to make your weight class, carb manipulation, whatever.
Yeah.
The goal typically, every time I've done this, has been to put on all of that weight that I've cut within 24 hours.
Yep.
So when I'm weighing myself constantly
On
throughout that
different
day
scales.
after I've weighed in to make sure, okay, well I weighed in 5 hours ago, I'm already up 4 pounds, whatever. So by the time I wake up tomorrow to go compete, I need to be fucking bloated.
Yep.
Right? I need to have put a ton of sodium into my system, electrolytes, water, carbs, all this stuff.
Otherwise known as being ready.
Being ready.
Being ready.
And then you wake up the next day and, let's say you cut 10 pounds, you want to be 10 pounds up the next day when you wake up.
110%. And you're gonna have better competition at that level, in my opinion.
People are always like, oh, that's cheating. You don't really weigh that. Okay.
I take a shit and I weigh different. I mean,
no kidding.
I mean,
kidding.
Let's be honest.
And also, it would be one thing if you're the only one in an entire competition that's cut weight and put it back on, but it's
everybody.
More often than not when you show up to a meet, a lot of people are standing there in line to weigh in, absolutely miserable, starving, dehydrated.
There's jokes about it.
There's jokes about it, exactly.
Oh, don't walk over there with a bagel because that's the weigh-in line.
Yeah.
And it's and that's me as a referee in USAPL. And I'm not knocking them just for it. It happens in every league, and I'm saying it's a failure for the people that I spoke with the USAPL, and this is not national officer, and this is people that lift in the USAPL, who have this veil over their eyes that it deters people from cutting. It does not. It will not. People are going to do it regardless. It's how can you as a federation make it safer for the person?
Yes.
And the day before weigh-ins, I had somebody tell me well, now you have day before weigh-ins, that's an advantage to people. And I'm like, no, it's not, because everybody can do it. And if everybody can do it, then how is that an advantage?
Yeah. And there's usually in USPA, when you sign up for a competition, it will say on the registration in all caps, no day of weigh-ins.
Or they do offer it sometimes, but you're right.
It's almost never.
Almost never. Or by appointment.
Yeah.
You're right. And my answer to these people who are crying like that, get the fuck in the gym and get stronger. It's that simple. If you're that worried about it, and you're going to be that nitpicky, go get fucking stronger.
Yeah.
If you want to be that competitive,
100%.
then be that fucking competitive.
Yeah.
Show us. Prove it to me. That's I don't like people that use excuses for shit. That to me is an excuse. Because I've lifted in multiple leagues. I've done day of and day before weigh-ins. I like day before weigh-ins because I feel ready to fucking go the day of the meet. I just do. I feel energized. Whereas, I was never cut. I cut weight once in my USAPL career. And it wasn't even that big of a weight cut. It was a 9 or 10 pound weight cut, which for me isn't that much.
Yeah.
I was miserable. That was one of the worst meets I ever did. Ever. My numbers were garbage. Absolute garbage.
You probably felt terrible too.
It was awful. I was 200 28 pounds, something like that. I mean, you know me. I'm 260 something now. So, I mean, 220 pounds I was awful. I felt awful. I mean, I look good, but now there's much more of me to love. And I don't worry about it anymore. If I know I'm in my weight class. I'm fine at 275. Yeah. I'm not going to go out of that. I can be healthy and train the way I want and not worry about it. There is a time and place for cutting. There is a time and place. Sure.
Which is what we should talk about now. Is how do you know if you should cut or if cutting is the best idea for you going into a meet?
Well, I think the first thing is, and what we tell our lifters when they come on is, one of the first questions they have is like, what weight class should I be going for? And I usually tell them, don't fucking worry about that yet.
Don't worry about it.
We train for strength, and then we'll figure out the weight class.
See where you land, pretty much. See where you land.
Now, as you progress in your career as a lifter, it is going to come down sometimes to, should I be the biggest one in the next class down? If you're close enough. You don't want to be losing 20 pounds.
No.
You don't want to be doing shit like that. And some of the weight classes are that big that you would have to lose like 20 pounds.
I mean, especially too if you don't know what you're doing. If you're somebody who's like a super advanced lifter and you know a lot about nutrition and carb manipulation, hydration, sodium, all that stuff, or you have a very experienced coach who can safely, and I say safely loosely because it's really like not safe.
It's safer.
Right?
I guess safer is a good word.
Usually if you're a brand new lifter and you're just starting out, you don't even really need to worry about your weight class. Like he said, train for strength. That's the point of powerlifting, is to see how fucking strong you can get, right? So if you're like, 1 or 2 pounds over a weight class, then maybe you will manipulate the week prior.
Maybe. If that was your plan from the beginning to be in that, like if you're a couple pounds over and your plan, you and your coach have come up with it to then drop that to go into that weight class, like all of your numbers and projections are for that lower weight class. That's probably what you're going to do. But if you're like 5, 6, 7 pounds into it, you can cut that. It is possible. It's just different people, different bodies. I've seen people cut 17, 20 pounds and they put up the worst performance I've ever seen. And to me, that's, what was the point?
There's no point, because the point of cutting weight would be to be more competitive, right?
Or to get qualified.
Yeah.
Now,
that's the next thing to talk about.
That brings on its own bunch of issues, because let's say like you do drop down to, I'm going to use the 148 class, the women's 148 class USPA, because I think, like, let's say you're at that 148 and you're below 148. Your qualifications are definitely lower than the next weight class up, which is
165.
165. So that's a big jump, 148 to 165. So if you're trying to get to the 148, let's say you get to the 148, right? You cut down, you make it qualification numbers for a national level or higher. Well, now you're stuck.
Yeah, now you're qualified in that weight class.
You have to now go for that weight class.
Yes.
Now, the goal is if you just made that weight class at this local level meet, and now you have to get better because the level of competition at a national meet is more, but you now have to get better and stronger and prep for the next meet, for that big national meet, in theory, you'd be putting on more muscle and more weight.
Yeah.
So now you have to find a way to put on more muscle, more weight in a short amount of time, but also stay below 148. Yeah. That's one factor too many in my book.
Or plan to do another manipulation prior to the meet.
Again, you're going to have to dig even deeper into that manipulation.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be heavier, if all goes as planned, than you would have been.
Yes.
So to me, like I said, that's one factor too many for me. I would probably train in that scenario for the weight class that I comfortably fall into. And what's wrong with getting stronger?
Nothing.
If it's not ready, if it's not time, it's not time.
Yeah.
You can push it out a little bit. You're not stuck.
So if you're a higher level lifter and you are wanting to qualify for nationals, qualify for worlds, qualify for something really elite like the Kern or the hybrid or something like that where bucked up where you need a certain Wilks or DOT score for your division and it's realistic for you to do that, then that would be a time to maybe consider it. If you are wanting to break a national or world record or something, then
Sure.
and it's again realistic, then you may want to consider and talk to your coach, whether it's a nutrition coach or a strength coach,
or if you have a team of coaches,
or if you have a team of coaches, like whatever.
I have two. I have Stacy and I have Streaky.
But
nutrition. So it's good to have that. Like even though like I'm a certified nutritionist, it's good to have. I don't want to take care of my own. I almost don't want to take care of my own.
Yeah.
I want somebody else to have that outside objective.
Totally. And like, this is really, we're saying this stuff because a lot of the people who listen to this podcast and a lot of the people that we coach are new to lifting, where we coach mostly beginner and intermediate level lifters.
And that's awesome. Welcome to the sport.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're just like, I'm telling you stuff that I wish I knew when I came into this sport. I have cut weight so many times. I came into this sport after being in eating disorder recovery for probably like 4 or 5 years. And I had gained like a good little bit of weight since I actively like made that decision to start getting stronger, start putting on muscle, and start competing. I had gained probably 25 pounds since I was at my smallest. And I think I cut like, I want to say it was 11 pounds for my first meet, which was, it was a local level meet, but I've traveled to North Carolina for it.
Right.
So you add in the stress of, this is my first meet.
Mm-hmm.
I have to travel 2 states away in the snow to a place I've never been.
Yep.
My coach was in Florida, so she was 4 states away, and wasn't able to be there to handle me. I mean, she was great throughout this and the entire thing. I was safe and all that, but it was fucking miserable being 130-pound female and trying to cut 11 pounds on a fucking train to North Carolina. Like, that's a significant amount of weight to cut for anybody, let alone somebody who only weighs like 130 pounds. So I did that for a couple years. I was, like you mentioned before, very afraid to gain weight, even though I had already gained weight from my previous point, but it was just kind of one of those like, oh my god, weighing 125 pounds is a lot. Like, I'll never get to 130 pounds. And then
lo and behold,
so I was doing a meet in Tallahassee.
That's right.
You remember that? The Seminole Strength Showdown. And my friend who was supposed to drive me wasn't able to make it. My plan had been pretty much entirely dependent on this friend being able to drive me.
So you could water cut.
So I could water cut in the car, because I'm a fucking crazy bitch, and I will turn the heat up and wear a bunch of shit and sweat it out for like 5 hours in the car. And I'm not crazy enough to do that if I myself am driving, because that's not a good idea. So I was like, I guess I'm gonna compete as a 132. Like, that was the first time that I ever did not cut for a meet. I competed as a 132 and I won.
Yeah, it was a great meet.
I won, and I think that was my second weight class that I qualified, that I ranked elite in.
Right.
And then I was a 132 for a little while.
And then we went to 148.
And then I went to 148 because I started to see, like, oh my god, I don't have to cut every time I want to do a meet. Like, I was so tired of that mentality that we have a lot as women of, oh, I need to be smaller, even in a sport like powerlifting, which is kind of why this sport is so beneficial for a lot of women, because it may take a little bit of time, but you do eventually get out of that mindset, and it can take some coaxing, and it can take other people around you, and also just proving to yourself. Like, I think I did, my first meet as a 148 was Battle of the Bay, and I won Battle of the Bay and ranked elite again at the heaviest weight I had ever been. I think I won my open class and I won the bench only class at that. Was a 148 for a while.
Yep.
Enter COVID, right? 2020.
Did you stay 148 for North American the first time?
North 2020.
I guess it would be 2020.
No, I was a 165.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's right. So after COVID, well,
yeah,
not after COVID. COVID's not done. So
COVID happened.
COVID's still here.
And
I just had it again.
During that time, a lot of stuff changed for a lot of people. Like I intentionally ate in a caloric surplus for months. I was really focused on like, I'm gonna just fucking see how brutally strong I can get.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of benefits that came with that, like not getting my first 200-pound bench press for 1, but for 3 reps. Things like that were just amazing. So my first North American Championships, I competed as a 165.
Yep.
And
you've been there ever since.
That was my highest total ever, obviously, and I ranked international elite at the heaviest weight that I had ever been. And I didn't have to go through the stress of cutting weight and going to a different state because, y'all, when you are flying or driving to another state for a competition, the last thing you want to do is have to worry about cutting weight because you're sitting. The elevation, if you're flying and stuff, can like really fuck with the way that you retain water.
You don't drink as much water and stuff. You just don't.
Exactly.
You're traveling. You don't want to be peeing all the time. So
that was like my wake up call, and I've been there for now. We're in 2022.
Well, you did it for this when you just did North Americans again. You were 165 again.
I was 165
and beat your numbers from last time.
Yeah, and I didn't have to cut. I actually weighed in like 11 pounds less than I did at North Americans in 2020, but I'm still in the 165 class. I could have easily cut to 148, but I chose not to because I didn't want to deal with that headache and traveling to Texas knowing full well, like maybe I could have won the 148 class, but
you almost won the 165.
I did. I did come in second as a 165, but whatever, you know. And now, I mean,
you still ranked international elite, and you still ranked good enough to qualify for everything this year. So I mean,
pretty much, yeah. So
the person who was in front of you, I can't remember her name. She was a beast.
She barely beat me too. It was stiff. It was stiff competition.
She was an animal.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I mean, my point to telling all of this stuff is don't be so concerned with cutting weight because it's not always going to make you more competitive to be lighter. Sometimes, crazy, it will make you more competitive to fucking be stronger.
Yeah, weird.
Weird, right?
Weird in a strength sport.
Yeah.
But there's lots of different tactics and stuff we'll get into in further podcasts that you can use to your advantage as well.
Yes.
So with that, what do we have coming up? And
well,
what do we have?
With that, choose the weight class that you're comfortably in. Don't worry about cutting if you are a beginner or intermediate level lifter. If you want to break a national record, world record, or qualify for some large meet, then yeah, maybe consider it. And get the appropriate help to do it as safely as you can. Now, what we have coming up.
What do we have coming up?
We have
the Tough Expo.
The Tough Expo in South Carolina that we have a lot of the people from the team are going to be competing at. Some of them, they've competed several times. We do have a few first-time lifters going to this, which is really exciting.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
We're not competing for a few months, but we're in train up mode, but we don't have a meet yet for us.
No. Yeah. I'm in a hypertrophy block right now.
Just got back from COVID block. So.
Yeah.
Which was fun. We went to Planet Fitness today. That was a blast.
Oh yeah. We should tell you guys that. We went to Planet Fitness.
That'll be another podcast. I want to go back and have more fun. It was fun. It was a good time.
It was a good time.
Does
anybody else love isolation equipment?
I love isolation equipment.
Love it.
So we got that. We have the nutrition line, which is really starting to grow. We're really proud of it. We want you guys to take advantage of it as well. So please head over to VikingStrengthSups.com or VikingStrengthNutrition.com and get the best sups that are on the market. This is stuff that we have spent our time designing and curating for you guys, especially our egg white protein, which is only 4 ingredients, all organic and all natural, wonderful flavor, and it is over 90% pure in its bioavailability. So get that. If you're vegan, we have vegan options as well.
We have vegan protein. We have whey protein.
We got greens.
We've got greens.
Caffeine,
we've got creatine,
pre-workout.
caffeine.
The whole run.
Lots of stuff and more stuff coming soon too.
Yep, and there's a bunch of swag and cool shirts and stuff you can buy there as well. So definitely go get your Viking Strength Nutrition gear. If you're interested in coaching, where can they go?
To vikingpowerlifting.com.
Excellent.
Or hit us up on Instagram.
Instagram, Viking Powerlifting, _ Viking Powerlifting.
Yep.
Instagram, or just Viking Strength Nutrition.
Yeah.
Right?
Or Encore Pusic or Savage Cat.
Yeah, we're all over the place.
Yep.
But if you're watching this, then you already know you're on YouTube. You're on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Smash that subscribe button and smash that bell so you know when we have new podcasts and stuff coming out. We have 2 shows on the Viking Inside. One is called the Viking Inside. We'll have a new one of those dropping in just a few days. And we'll have our podcast, which comes out generally every week, barring
COVID.
holidays and COVID. So this is actually episode number 14. I believe we're getting there. A lot of episodes. So make sure you guys hit subscribe, follow our YouTube channel. It is called The Viking Inside. Is there any other form of social media that I'm missing?
No, but we're going to start posting Q&As pretty regularly. I post them sometimes in my story, but y'all want to ask me some weird questions, all right? Please ask me questions about fitness or lifting or nutrition, and not questions about
how much your underwear costs to buy.
How much my underwear costs to buy, or if I ever consider picking up my boyfriend and carrying him around on my shoulders.
That was an interesting one.
Yeah.
Definitely interesting.
I strung that guy along for a little bit too long, I think.
Yeah, well, he was really into you carrying me around. That's his fetish. Like you carrying me around. Whatever. We probably shouldn't have sent that video. I'm just kidding. We didn't send any videos. All right, guys. So we've got all of our social media except for our OnlyFans.
We don't have an OnlyFans.
Yet.
Okay.
We're never going to have an OnlyFans. We're not that... I mean, hey, whatever. Anyways, power to people.
We're professionals at this.
Ish. Yeah.
Not
so anyways, thank you guys for tuning in again. This is the Desire Over Doubt Show. I am Nate, and this is...
Savage Cat.
And we will see you in the gym.
Catch you on the flip side.